Hey family, welcome back to Black Queen Revenge. We've got a unique story for you today, full of emotion and real-life drama. If you love these stories, please like, comment, subscribe, and share your ideas for future videos. So, let's begin. I always thought my wedding day would be the happiest day of my life. I imagined soft music, gentle laughter, my dress flowing behind me like a dream, and the man I loved standing at the end of the aisle waiting for me with eyes full of devotion. But real life is never that simple. Sometimes it hands you the kind of moment that splits your world into two pieces: the life you thought you had and the truth that was waiting to crush you. I remember standing in the bridal room, fixing the last strand of my hair. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from excitement. I thought it was normal. Brides are supposed to be nervous, right? My best friend Sana stood beside me, adjusting my veil for the 10th time. She looked more stressed than I was. "Are you sure about him?" she whispered, her voice low, almost careful. I laughed softly. "Sana, it's my wedding day. Don't start this again." She pressed her lips together, then nodded. "Fine, but if he hurts you, I'm burning his entire life down." I didn't take her seriously. Not then. I thought she was being dramatic. But later, when everything fell apart, her words echoed in my head like a warning I should have never ignored. The ceremony began. The music played, the doors opened, and everyone turned toward me as I walked down the aisle. My dress shimmered under the chandeliers. It felt like a movie moment, beautiful, slow, magical. And then I saw him, my husband-to-be, Arman. He didn't smile. He didn't even look touched. He looked annoyed, irritated, as if this entire wedding was some huge inconvenience. My heart tightened, but I kept walking. I told myself it was stress, nothing more. When I finally reached him, he didn't take my hand the way he used to. He just glanced at me, eyes cold, and turned back toward the officiant. That was the first sign. The second came during the vow exchange, when he barely looked at me and rushed his words as if he wanted everything to be over quickly. But the worst part, the moment that changed everything, happened at the reception. Everyone was standing around, clapping, cheering, waiting for us to start our first dance as a married couple. I stepped toward him, smiling, trying to shake off the strange tension between us. "Arman, are you okay? You're acting weird." He clenched his jaw. "Just follow my lead and don't embarrass me." His tone cut through me like a blade. But again, I tried to stay calm. Maybe the pressure was getting to him. Maybe he just needed a moment. I reached for his hand, softly, gently, trying to reassure him. And that's when it happened. Right there. In front of everyone. In front of my family. In front of his friends. In front of strangers. He slapped me. A sharp, loud crack echoed through the hall as his hand collided with my cheek. I stumbled back, my veil slipping off my head, my earrings shaking violently. The music stopped. The guests gasped. Someone screamed. I didn't. I just stood frozen. My cheek burning, my chest tightening, my soul shattering right in front of him. Arman hissed. "You're embarrassing me. You should have listened." For a full 2 seconds, nobody moved. The hall felt like it wasn't breathing. Then his mother rushed forward, grabbing his arm. "Arman, what have you done?" she scolded. But he yanked his arm away like a child throwing a tantrum. "She knows why she deserved it," he growled. And the worst part? He said it with confidence, as if he truly believed it. My father stood up slowly, his face pale, his hands trembling with rage. Sana ran toward me, holding my shoulders, her eyes wide with shock. "Say something! Do something!" she whispered. But I felt numb. Completely numb. My wedding day, the day I dreamed about my entire life, turned into the most humiliating moment I'd ever experienced. Then suddenly, something inside me snapped back to life. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. I stepped forward, fixing my veil back into place with steady hands. The guests watched me like the next second would decide everything. Armand sneered. "What? Are you going to cry now?" But I didn't cry. I smiled. A calm, controlled smile, the kind people wear when they've reached their breaking point and they know exactly what they're about to do next. I took the microphone from the stage, not rushed, not emotional, but slow and deliberate, and turned toward the audience. Everyone leaned forward. My voice came out steady, almost cold. Since my husband thinks I deserved to be slapped, people gasped again. Armand's confidence wavered. Let me tell you all something he didn't want anyone here to know. His eyes widened. Don't you dare! But it was too late. I had already decided. The humiliation he gave me, I was about to return it 10 times harder, right there, in front of everyone, in a way he would never recover from. Armand froze. For the first time that day, I saw a crack in his arrogance. His chest moved faster, his eyes darted around the hall as whispers began spreading like wildfire. The man who slapped me in front of hundreds of people suddenly looked scared. Good. I held the microphone, my fingers steady. My cheek still burned, but inside me, something stronger burned even brighter. I looked straight at him, and he took a step back. I wasn't going to say anything today. I thought maybe marriage would change him. Maybe love would fix him. Maybe patience would calm him. But I guess the truth always finds a way to reveal itself. Armand tried to grab the microphone from me, but my father moved forward, blocking his path with a steel-like glare that made Armand freeze in place. I stepped a little to the side so everyone could see my face clearly, the red handprint still visible. You all think you know this man. You think he's calm, respectable, educated, a gentleman. But none of you know what he's really been doing behind everyone's back. Armand shook his head, panic growing. Shut up! Don't say anything! I looked at him, not with fear, but with the kind of confidence he had never seen from me. I'm done being silent. Before I could speak further, his phone, left on the table earlier, buzzed loudly on the speakers. Somehow it had connected to the hall's Bluetooth system. The guests turned toward the sound. A woman's voice filled the speakers. His mistress. The hall erupted into a collective gasp. She wasn't begging. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't whispering. She was angry. Armand, why haven't you blocked your wife yet? How long will this pretend marriage game last? You promised you'd get rid of her after the wedding. Don't act spineless now. Time stopped. Armand lunged toward the phone, but two of his cousins grabbed him, trying to stop him from making it worse. His mother covered her mouth. His father dropped into a chair, shame written all over his face. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I let the recording continue. You better keep her quiet today. If she causes trouble, deal with her. I'm tired of hiding. The hall went dead silent. Every eye turned to me. Pity, shock, anger swirling around the room. I felt none of it. I had already gone numb. Armand broke free and screamed, "That recording is old. She's lying. She's still calling you every night?" I interrupted softly. His face collapsed. I took a slow breath and continued. You all heard it yourselves. He didn't slap me because I embarrassed him. He slapped me because he was scared I'd expose him, because I found out everything. I pointed toward the screen at the back of the hall. And because he forgot to log out of his cloud backup. The guests turned as a slideshow began playing on the LED screen. Auto-synced images from his phone. Messages, pictures, voice notes, screenshots, all showing the truth. Months and months of cheating, lies, manipulation, and secret plans with the same woman. Armin screamed, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But no one moved. His own brother muttered under his breath, "You did this to yourself." I stepped closer to Armin. He backed away like a coward. The same man who had the audacity to strike me in front of hundreds of people now looked like a terrified child. "You ruined this marriage before it even began," I said quietly. "But you won't ruin me." He opened his mouth to argue, but before he could, I removed the ring from my finger and let it drop to the floor. The sound of the metal hitting marble echoed louder than the slap had. "So here," I whispered, "this marriage is over, in front of everyone." He stumbled forward, desperate, but before he could reach me, my father stepped between us. "You will not touch my daughter again," he said. Armin looked around the hall, eyes wild, searching for anyone to take his side. No one did. Not even his own parents. His mother shook her head, tears falling. "Armin, what have you done?" He tried to speak, but no words came out. He just stood there, breathing hard, his plans shattered, his reputation burning in front of his eyes. I turned away from him and walked toward the exit. Guests parted like the sea, giving me space, staring at me with disbelief and admiration. And just when I reached the door, I stopped. I turned around one last time. "By the way," I said loudly, my voice steady and sharp, "the slap you gave me in front of everyone, that will cost you." Armin looked terrified. "What does that mean?" I smiled, a calm, final smile. "You'll find out tomorrow." Then I walked out of the hall, leaving him drowning in the ruins he created. The moment I stepped outside the hall, the cold air hit my face like a blessing. It soothed the burning sting left by Armin's hand, but more importantly, it reminded me of something I had forgotten for months: my freedom. Santa ran after me, heels clacking, breath uneven. "Please, slow down. You can't just walk out after dropping a bomb like that." I stopped, finally letting myself breathe. For the first time since the morning, my vision wasn't blurry. My head wasn't spinning. My heart didn't feel like it was suffocating. Everything felt clear. "I didn't walk out," I said. "I walked away. There's a difference." She looked at me as if seeing a stranger. "You don't look broken at all." Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have been crying on the floor, screaming, asking why, begging for answers. But instead, something inside me felt stronger than it ever had. "I'm done letting him control my emotions," I whispered. "Done letting him manipulate me, confuse me, gaslight me. Today, he showed the world exactly who he is. And tomorrow, I'll finish what I started." She grabbed my arm. "What do you mean? What are you planning?" I squeezed her hand gently. "Just trust me." She blinked, then nodded. "Always." We headed to the car waiting outside. My father was already sitting inside, staring ahead, hands trembling. He wasn't a man of many words, but his silence tonight carried more emotion than any speech could. He turned slightly when I entered. "Are you hurt?" I answered softly, "Not physically, and not anymore." He nodded once, jaw clenched. "Good. Then let's go home." We drove in silence. I watched the city lights blur outside the window. People walking, laughing, eating, living their normal lives, while 9 had exploded publicly just minutes ago. But strangely, I didn't feel destroyed. I felt rebuilt. When we reached home, my mother rushed toward me, trying to inspect my face, but I gently stopped her. "I'm fine," I whispered. She cupped my cheek anyway. "This isn't fine. No mother should see her daughter go through this." I placed my hand over hers. "I'm not going through anything anymore. It's over." We sat in the living room, everyone quiet. Nobody knew what to say. The truth had just unfolded in the most dramatic, humiliating way possible, and my family was still processing the shock. Finally, my younger brother spoke. "So, what happens now?" I leaned back, exhaling slowly. "Now, I expose everything. Publicly, legally, completely." My father frowned. "Beta, aren't you worried about people talking?" I shook my head. "Let them talk. I'd rather they talk about the truth than let him destroy my life quietly." Santa grinned. "That's my girl." My phone buzzed. Dozens of messages, missed calls, notifications, all from guests. Some were checking on me. Some were apologizing for Armin's behavior. Some were sharing screenshots that had already spread. Some were asking what happened afterward. And then Armin himself started calling. I declined every call. Then a text popped up. "Armin, we need to talk now." "Armin, you didn't have to do that. We can fix this." "Armin, pick up the phone." "Armin, I said pick up the phone." I stared at his messages without emotion. Then another message arrived. "Armin, you don't know what you've started." Santa snatched the phone from me. "He's threatening you after slapping you at your own wedding?"
Oh, he has no idea what's coming. I stood up. Exactly. And I'm going to make sure everyone sees who he really is. My father finally spoke. What's your plan? I walked to my room, opened my laptop, and placed it on the table. My entire family followed me quietly, waiting for my next move. I clicked on a folder I had created earlier that morning. The folder name, Proof. Inside were over 100 screenshots, recordings, call histories, messages, all from his cloud backup that he forgot was linked to my device during our engagement days.
Every secret conversation, every promise to his mistress, every disgusting comment about me, every plan he had to keep me under control after the wedding. They were all there. Sana gasped. "Oh, you knew all this before the wedding?" "No," I typed calmly. "I found it this morning." My mother covered her mouth. "Then why didn't you stop the wedding?" I paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Because if I had cancelled it quietly, he would have twisted the story, made me look crazy, manipulative, immature. You know how men like him operate. My father nodded slowly. He understood. I continued. He needed to be exposed in public. He needed to be shattered in front of the same people he bragged to. "And you did exactly that," Sana said, proudly. I shook my head. "Not yet. That was only the beginning." My eyes narrowed. What I'm about to do now will ruin him properly. I selected the entire folder and attached it to a draft email. "To whom are you sending it?" my brother asked. I typed each address one by one. His parents, his boss, his work colleagues, his family friends, the imam who performed the ceremony, and lastly, myself. For evidence. My mother whispered, "Are you sure?" "Yes." I clicked send. Sana laughed under her breath. "You're not leaving ashes, you're leaving dust." I closed the laptop slowly. Tomorrow morning, everyone will know the truth, and he'll have no one left to manipulate. My father placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're strong, stronger than he ever deserved." I took a deep breath, and tomorrow, I'm filing the case. Sana froze mid-sip. "What case?" "The one that'll make sure he never lays a hand on another woman again." There was another knock on my phone. Another text. "Arman, you can't ruin me. Arman, you don't have the spine." I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back. "Me? Watch me." I put the phone down and finally allowed myself to feel something. Relief. Because the next day, the real war would begin. And this time, I wasn't the one who would lose. The next morning started with a vibration on my nightstand. One, then two, then three messages, non-stop buzzing like a swarm of angry bees trapped inside my phone. I opened my eyes slowly, my body reminding me of last night's emotional exhaustion. I did not cry. I did not fall apart. I just felt steady. The kind of steady that comes after you finally stop pretending everything is fine. I sat up, grabbed my phone, and unlocked it. The messages were exactly what I expected. His mother, his sister, his boss, some of his friends, even people from the wedding I barely knew. All of them had seen the evidence. His mother's message was the first. "Beta, I don't know what to say. I'm ashamed. I'm so sorry. Please let me talk to you when you're ready." Then his boss. "This is alarming. We are investigating the matter immediately. Thank you for informing us." Then the one that made me smile bitterly. His sister. "I knew he was trash. I'm on your side, always." And finally, Arman. He had sent me 47 messages overnight. I didn't read them. Not yet. I got out of bed and walked to the kitchen. My mother was already awake, pacing, wringing her hands like the world was collapsing. When she saw me, she rushed over. "Are you okay? Did you sleep? Did you eat anything last night? What do you need?" "I need chai," I said calmly. She exhaled, relieved to see me functioning normally, and immediately started boiling water. My father walked in holding his phone. "It has begun." "What?" I asked. He turned the screen toward me. A WhatsApp group with over 200 members, relatives, friends, distant cousins, all talking about the incident, all talking about me. Some were saying Arman was a disgrace, some said he deserved jail. Some were cursing him in languages I didn't even understand. Very few dared to defend him, and even they backed off after seeing the proof. Sana walked in behind my father, hair messy, eyes half open. She must have stayed over without telling anyone. Good morning, she groaned. Or dramatic morning. I handed her a cup of tea. You look like you've been hit by a truck. I feel like it, but the truck was worth it because your ex-husband is currently being roasted like a kebab in 5 different family groups. I raised my eyebrow. Already? She took a loud slurp of chai. Oh yeah, people woke up early for this drama. My father sat at the dining table. He wasn't smiling, but the relief on his face was clear. You don't have to fight this alone. We're here. I know, but today I need to go to the station. Sana froze, mid-sip. You're filing the FIR today? Yes. My mother touched my arm gently. Are you sure you want to go through all this? Court, police, statements. It's stressful. So is being slapped at my own wedding? I replied calmly. She went silent. After breakfast, I dressed simply. No makeup, no jewelry. Just a black kurta, tied hair, and determination on my face. Before leaving, I finally opened Arman's messages. I scrolled through them slowly. At first, he was angry. You ruined everything. Then he was defensive. The recording was taken out of context. Then he tried to gaslight me. You know I didn't mean that slap. Then he pretended to be remorseful. Please, let's talk. Then he lost his mind completely. If you go to the police, I swear I'll make your life hell. I stopped scrolling. That was enough. I locked my phone and placed it in my bag. Sana insisted on coming along. My father did too, so we all went together. At the police station, the officer recognized me immediately. News travels fast, especially scandal. You're the girl from yesterday's wedding? He asked softly. Yes. He shook his head. Shameful, very shameful. Come, sit. We sat in his small office, papers scattered everywhere. He pushed a form forward. Tell me everything. And I did. Not with tears, not with hesitation, not with fear. I narrated every detail with the same calmness I used last night. My voice steady, my posture straight, my words clear. The officer typed silently, occasionally shaking his head. When I finished, he said, We can file this under domestic abuse, physical assault, public violence, and harassment. Good, I said. Sana squeezed my hand under the cable. My father asked, What happens next? We will call him for questioning today. If he refuses or misbehaves, we can detain him. My heart beat faster, but not out of fear. Out of justice. We finished the paperwork, signed the documents, and stepped outside. The sun was bright, almost painfully bright, but it didn't bother me. Not today. We walked towards the car and my phone buzzed again. A new message. Not from Arman. From his mother. He left the house. We don't know where he went. Sana rolled her eyes. Typical coward behavior. But something inside me tightened. Not fear. Not worry. Instinct. I sensed something was coming. Something he would try next. Something desperate. He's going to do something stupid, I murmured. My father placed a protective hand on my shoulder. Let him try. He will not reach you. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But deep down, I knew Arman wasn't finished yet. Men like him never accept defeat quietly. They drag others down with them. And that night, I found out just how low he could sink.
When I walked out of that conference room, leaving Daniel with his family's crumbling walls collapsing around him, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Control. Real, raw control. Not the brittle, exhausted version of strength people pretend to have when they're hurting, but the genuine kind that comes after surviving a storm you never deserved to face. But even then, I didn't celebrate. I knew Daniel wasn't done. Men like him never surrender quietly. They claw, they manipulate, they twist reality until even their own shame becomes someone else's responsibility. And I could already feel it in my bones. This wasn't the end. It was only the intermission before the real show. I spent the next few days packing my things from the apartment. I hadn't lived there long, barely 2 months after the wedding, but every corner felt tainted. The balcony where he accused me of trying to seduce the photographer, the kitchen where he'd slam cabinets instead of communicating, the closet where he kept the necklace he bought for his ex but tried to pass off as a gift for me. The walls felt heavy with secrets he never had the courage to tell. I boxed up my books, my clothes, my journals, the ones I had filled with all the ways I tried to make the marriage work, and I left the rest behind. The furniture, the decor, the expensive marble clock his mother gifted us, the framed wedding photo where his fake smile now felt like an omen. I left all of it. Some things aren't worth taking into a new life. My parents wanted me to stay with them, but I rented a small apartment instead. Just one bedroom, a tiny balcony, and sunlight that hit the living room like a warm hug every morning. It wasn't luxurious, it wasn't decorated like a Pinterest dream, and it wasn't meant to impress anyone. But the silence inside those walls, that was priceless. No slamming doors, no footsteps that made me tense, no voice dripping with jealousy. Just me, my breathing, and the comforting hum of peace. For the first time in months, I slept straight through the night. But peace, I soon learned, doesn't go unchallenged. Daniel started calling. First once, then twice, then 10 times in a day. I didn't pick up. I didn't owe him anything. Not an explanation, not a fight, not a shred of emotional labor. But he didn't stop. He texted paragraphs that shifted between begging, blaming, threatening, reminiscing, apologizing, and then blaming again. Classic emotional roulette. I muted every notification, but one text caught my eye before I could swipe it away. "You ruined me. Are you happy?" I wasn't. Not because of guilt, I had none left to feel, but because I knew that text meant he was spiraling. And a spiraling man with a bruised ego can be dangerous, not just to the person he's targeting, but to himself. I didn't respond, not because I wanted to provoke him, but because his emotions weren't my job to fix. Not anymore. Not ever again. What I didn't expect was what came next. A knock on my apartment door. I froze. No one knew where I lived except my parents and the landlord. I approached the door slowly, my heartbeat thudding in my ears, and looked through the peephole. There he was. Daniel. Rain dripping from his hair, breathing hard like he'd run up the stairs instead of taking the elevator. His tie was crooked, his shirt wrinkled, and he looked nothing like the put-together man who used to boast about how he never lost control. He had lost it now. Completely. I didn't open the door. He knocked again. "Emily, please." His voice cracked, and for a second, just half a second, I felt the ghost of the love I had once believed in. But then the memory of his hand striking my cheek in front of hundreds of guests burned through that softness. I stepped back from the door and stayed silent. My silence made him more frantic. Just talk to me," he said, his voice trembling. "Please, please, Em. Don't do this. I know I messed up. Just give me 5 minutes. 5. I swear I'll leave after that." Silence. He rested his forehead against the door. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have slapped you. I shouldn't have said all those things. You were right. Everyone's turning against me now. My mother won't look at me. My uncle took you off the project completely. You won." I closed my eyes. The victory he was talking about wasn't a victory to me. It was simply justice. After a long, quiet moment, I spoke. Through the door. "Go home, Daniel." He sucked in a shaky breath. "I don't have a home without you." That line, maybe it would have broken me months ago. Maybe it would have made me cry, made me believe that beneath all the hurt was a man who loved me in the only broken way he could. But not now. Now I saw it clearly. Not love, possession. He didn't miss me. He missed control. A noise echoed from the hallway. Footsteps. Voices. My neighbor, an older woman who lived 2 doors down, appeared and shot Daniel a sharp look. He stepped away quickly, wiping his face, pretending not to be standing outside my apartment like a desperate intruder. "I'm calling the police if you linger here, young man," she snapped. He stiffened. "I'm not doing anything. You're harassing a woman in her home. That's something." Daniel looked at my door one last time, then at the neighbor, then at the stairs, and finally, he left.
But the story didn't end there. The next morning, I woke up early and checked my email. There were dozens of new messages, most from strangers. Some were supportive, some were curious, some were hateful, some were asking if I could tell the full tea. I didn't understand what was going on until I scrolled and found a link sent by one of my cousins. It was a video. A leaked video. A video from my wedding. The slap, the music stopping, the gasp from the crowd, me holding my face, his mother dragging him back. The chaos. Someone had recorded all of it and posted it online. Thousands, no, millions of views in just 2 days. My heart dropped. Not because I was embarrassed, I hadn't done anything wrong, but because the internet was a dangerous playground, and now our pain was entertainment. The comment section was explosive. She handled it like a queen. He slapped her? In public? Nah, he's done. That man needs therapy and jail. This is so sad. Why would you marry someone like that? I wasn't angry at the commenters. They didn't know me. They only saw a moment, not a marriage. But then I saw something that made my stomach twist. A comment posted under a name I recognized. Daniel.
This is not the full story. She provoked me. She wasn't innocent. He was trying to save face. He was trying to turn the world against me. But the world didn't buy it. They attacked him harder. And that must have pushed him into a darker place, because later that day, I got another message, but not from him. From his mother. "We need to talk. It's important." I ignored it. She called. I didn't answer. Then she showed up at my new apartment. Unlike Daniel, she didn't knock desperately. She waited calmly, patiently, sitting on the hallway bench like she had all the time in the world. When I finally opened the door a crack, she stood up slowly. "Emily," she said softly, "please, just give me a moment." There was no hostility in her eyes, no accusation, only exhaustion, the kind that comes from watching your child destroy everything around him. I opened the door slightly wider. "I came as a mother," she said, "not as someone defending her son. I know what he did was unacceptable. I know he hurt you. I'm not here to excuse anything." Her honesty caught me off guard. Then she said the one sentence that made my breath freeze. "I'm scared for him." And suddenly I understood. Daniel wasn't just spiraling emotionally, he was collapsing mentally. His job was at risk, his reputation was destroyed, his family had turned away, and the one person he thought he owned, she walked away from him publicly and fully. "Where is he?" I asked. She hesitated. "I don't know." Those 3 words terrified me more than anything else she had said. "He left the house this morning," she continued. "He didn't take his wallet, not his phone, not even shoes. He walked out barefoot like he didn't know where he was." I swallowed hard. "He kept saying one thing before he left," she whispered. "He kept saying he had nothing left." I didn't love him anymore. I didn't want him back, but I didn't want him dead. I grabbed my keys. His mother looked at me with relief. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm not doing this for him," I said quietly. "I'm doing this because I'm human." We searched the parks, the streets, his favorite spots, the cafe where we had our first date. Nothing. As the sun set, panic settled in deeper. Then his cousin called. We found him. He was sitting on a bridge railing, staring at the water below. Not jumping, just sitting, like he was deciding. When I got there, the sky was purple, the air cold, and Daniel looked empty, truly empty. His eyes were void of rage, jealousy, or ego. Just exhaustion. He didn't look at me, not at first. But when he finally did, his voice was barely a whisper. "Why didn't you pick up the phone?" "Because I had to save myself first." I didn't say that. Instead, I sat beside him, leaving a safe distance. "You don't get to give up," I said quietly. "Not like this. Not after everything." He laughed bitterly. "Why not? You're gone.
My family hates me. My job might fire me. The entire internet thinks I'm a monster. You slapped your wife on your wedding day. People aren't wrong. He flinched. I know, he whispered, and I'd give anything to undo it, but I can't. I ruined everything. Silence stretched between us. I wasn't good to you, he said finally. I know that now. Now? After everything? I was scared, he continued. Scared you'd realize you deserve better, that you'd leave me, that you'd see how pathetic I actually am. So I controlled you before you could leave, and then I became angry at you for the behavior I caused. I didn't speak. He wiped his face. You're not here to take me back. I know that. But thank you for coming. I didn't come for you, I said softly. I came because hurting yourself won't fix anything. He nodded slowly. Then he stepped down from the railing. His mother rushed to him, hugging him tightly. He didn't hug back at first. Then slowly, he did. I walked away quietly. A week later, I signed the divorce papers. He didn't fight it. He didn't show up in court. He didn't send any angry messages. He simply let go. And for the first time since I met him, he gave me something that actually resembled love. He gave me freedom. 3 months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment watching the sunrise. The scars of the past hadn't vanished, but they no longer controlled me. My life was mine again. My peace was real. And my future, it felt wide open. I thought of Daniel sometimes, not with anger or longing, but with a distant sense of closure. He was a chapter that taught me everything I needed to know about strength, boundaries, and self-respect. And if I ever doubted myself again, if I ever feared falling into another toxic relationship, I remembered one thing clearly. I walked away, I survived, I rebuilt, and I never let anyone dim my light again. The first few weeks after the divorce felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet, like the air after a storm, when everything is still damp, still recovering, still trembling from what just passed. I focused on going back to work, seeing friends again, rebuilding the parts of myself that had been bruised, cracked, and drained. My days became routine. Wake up, shower, drink tea with my mother, kiss her cheek, head to the office and pretend everything was perfectly normal. And sometimes, for a few moments, I actually believed it was. People at work whispered at first. They thought they couldn't hear me, but I did. They said things like, "She's so strong," or "Poor girl, what she went through," or "Imagine being slapped at your own wedding." I ignored it. I had learned, painfully, that the world will always talk, but the day they stop talking is the day you no longer exist. So I took it as a reminder that I was still here, still living, still moving. On a cold Thursday morning in late January, I met him. Not dramatically, not romantically, not in some slow-motion movie-style entrance. It happened in the least glamorous place possible, the parking lot behind my office building. I was struggling with a stack of files, my bag, and a coffee that I'd been foolish enough to balance on top of everything. A gust of wind whipped around the corner, and the coffee cup wobbled. Before I could react, the entire stack tilted. And then, a hand shot out, catching everything, including the coffee.
Careful, a warm voice said. You almost lost your morning. I looked up. Tall, broad shoulders, navy blue coat, a slightly messy beard like he hadn't bothered to shave in a few days, and eyes that felt kind. Not dazzling, not intimidating, just steady and gentle. Embarrassed, I quickly shifted the files back into my arms. Thank you. I always underestimate how much I can carry. He smiled. Overestimating ourselves is a common human flaw. It was a simple line, but something about the calm way he said it made me pause.
Most men tried to be charming or flirty, but he wasn't trying at all. It was just who he was. "I'm Alex," he said, handing my coffee back to me. "I'm Emily," I said. "I know," he said casually, then quickly added, I've seen you around the office. You work in creative strategy, right?" "That's me," I said, surprised he noticed. "And you?" "Finance division, business analytics." He laughed. "Basically the group that everyone avoids." "Why would anyone avoid finance?" I asked. "Because we're the ones who say no to every expensive idea." I laughed. And I didn't even realize until that moment how long it had been since I'd laughed naturally. Not politely, not awkwardly, not because someone expected it. A real laugh. A small one, but still real. "Thank you for saving my files. And my coffee," I said. "Anytime," he said with a small nod. "See you around, Emily." He walked away, hands in his coat pockets, head slightly down, like he wasn't trying to impress anyone. And for some reason, my heart felt strangely light. I didn't think about him again, at least not right away. I was still healing, still figuring out who I was without Daniel's shadow hovering over me. But the universe had a funny way of repeating things until you paid attention. 3 days later, I bumped into Alex again, this time at the elevator. He held the door open, even though it was nearly closed. I stepped in. "Thank you." "Of course." We stood on opposite sides, both facing forward, respectful of each other's space. He didn't stare. He didn't make forced small talk. He didn't act overly curious about my life, and that, ironically, made me curious about him. The elevator stopped on the 7th floor. Before he stepped out, he turned back slightly. "You look tired," he said. Not judging, just observing. "I am," I admitted. He looked at me for a moment, studying me. Not the way Daniel used to, searching for flaws or weaknesses, but the way someone looks when they actually want to understand you. "Be kind to yourself today," he said gently. "You deserve it." The door closed before I could reply. That line stayed with me the entire day. That afternoon, one of my coworkers leaned over my desk with a smirk. "So, you and the new finance guy?" I blinked. "Who?" "The one with the beard and the eyes. Alex something." "Oh," I said too quickly. "No, nothing." "Are you sure?" she teased. "He asks about you." "He does?" She winked and walked away. My stomach fluttered, in a strange, unfamiliar way. Not fear, not dread, just curiosity, hope, a tiny spark of something new. But I pushed it away. I wasn't ready. I wasn't healed, and I wasn't about to repeat old mistakes. Still, the next week I found myself noticing him more. How he always held the door for people. How he thanked the security guard every morning. How he helped an intern pick up their spilled lunch without laughing. How he never raised his voice even when stressed. How everyone around him seemed comfortable, never tense, never guarded. One evening, as I left the office, I found him sitting on a bench outside, writing something in a notebook. "You write?" I said, without thinking. He looked up. "Yeah, not well, but it helps me think." "What do you write?" "Thoughts, plans, things I don't want to forget." "Like a journal?" He shrugged. "More like a conversation with myself." I sat on the bench beside him, leaving a polite gap. "Sounds healthy." He chuckled. "Better than bottling everything inside." There was a tiny pause. Then he closed the notebook gently. "I heard what happened," he said softly. My breath caught. Everyone did, didn't they? He didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "I'm sorry you went through that." Not, "You poor thing." Not, "That must have been horrible." Not, "Why didn't you leave earlier?" Just a simple acknowledgement. "And I'm glad you walked away," he added. This time, I didn't look at him. I stared ahead at the cars passing, the people walking, the fading orange sky. "It wasn't easy," I whispered. "I know." He said, "How would you know?" He leaned back slightly. "Because I had a sister who went through something similar. Different details, same cruelty." That made me turn to him. "Did she get out?" I asked quietly. "Yes," he said, "but not before she convinced herself she deserved it." My chest tightened. "I did that too." His voice softened. "Most people do. That's the tragedy." We sat in silence for a while. Not awkward silence. Comfortable silence. The kind of silence that felt safe. When I stood up to leave, he said something that stayed with me all night. "You're not broken," he said. "You were just lied to." I swallowed hard. "Thank you. And one more thing," he added with a small smile. "If no one told you today, you're doing great." For the first time in months, I believed it. That night, I replayed his words in my mind. I didn't want to. I tried to distract myself, but every time I closed my eyes, his calm voice returned. The next few weeks became a pattern. Small interactions, gentle conversations, the kind of slow, unforced presence that felt like sunlight seeping through curtains. One cold afternoon, he came to my desk with 2 coffees. "Peace offering," he said, placing one beside me. "For what?" "For stealing your parking spot this morning." I snorted. "Stealing? I was literally late." "Exactly," he said, "so I stole it." I laughed, loudly, then clapped my hand over my mouth. He grinned. "See? You do know how to laugh." "You're annoying," I said, smiling. "Maybe, but I'm good at picking coffee." He wasn't flirting. Not really. It was just gentle teasing. Natural. Easy. And then something happened that changed everything. A week later, while leaving the office late, I found Daniel waiting outside near the gate. My heart froze. He stepped forward. "Emily, please, just listen." "Don't come near me," I said sharply. Before Daniel could take another step, a figure moved in front of me. Tall, calm, protective. "Alex, I think she asked you to leave," he said firmly. Daniel glared at him. "Mind your business." Alex's voice remained steady. "She's my business right now because she looks uncomfortable, so you're going to walk away." Daniel's jaw tightened. "She's my wife." "Ex-wife," I corrected. That word hit him like a punch. Daniel's eyes burned with anger, but Alex didn't flinch. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, expression calm but unmovable. "Leave," Alex said quietly, "before you make things worse." For the first time ever, Daniel backed down. He muttered something under his breath and walked off. I let out a shaky breath I didn't know I'd been holding. "Thank you," I whispered. "You okay?" Alex asked. Yeah, I think so." "You don't have to talk about it," he said gently. "Just tell me if you want company until you get to your car." I nodded. We walked in silence, slow, careful steps. When we reached my car, he stopped. "Emily," he said softly, "I'm not trying to replace anything or fix anything. I just like being around you, and I want you to feel safe." Something warm spread through my chest. For the first time since the wedding disaster, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel fragile. I felt seen. Truly seen. And maybe I wasn't ready for anything new. Maybe I wouldn't be ready for a long time. But as I looked at him standing under the dim parking lights, the faint winter smoke in his breath, his eyes filled with concern and patience, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The next morning, the air felt different, softer somehow, like the world had shifted just a little. I woke up with the memory of last night still pulsing faintly in my mind. Daniel's sudden appearance, the tension that gripped my chest, and then Alex stepping in like a shield I didn't know I needed until the moment he stood there. I didn't know what to call what was happening between us. It wasn't love, not yet. It wasn't infatuation. It wasn't desperation. It was something gentler, something safer, something like an invitation to breathe again. But I didn't let myself sink into hope too quickly. I wasn't foolish. I'd been burned once and the scars were still fresh. At work, things went back to normal. Meetings, emails, brainstorming sessions. But the normal felt less heavy, less suffocating. And I couldn't deny that part of that relief came from knowing that someone like Alex existed in my orbit. Around lunchtime, I was heading toward the cafeteria when he appeared beside me, holding a box. "For you?" he said, handing it over. I raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "A sandwich." "Why?" "You skipped breakfast. I heard your stomach growl in the elevator." I gasped. "No, you didn't." He nodded seriously. It was adorable. I covered my face. "Oh my God." He laughed softly. "Relax. It was a friendly sandwich. No hidden motives. Unless you're allergic to tomatoes, in which case, consider this an assassination attempt." I looked at him sideways. "You're strange." "It's part of my charm." There it was again, his effortless way of making me forget everything heavy inside me. We sat together during lunch, talking about nothing important. Books, music, why people never return their shopping carts, the way office chairs are designed to ruin your spine. I laughed more times than I expected, and each laugh chipped away a little more of the wall I'd built around myself. But the universe never lets happiness come too easily. That evening when I reached home, my mother met me at the door with worry etched across her face. "He came again," she whispered. My stomach dropped. "Who?" "Daniel." I inhaled sharply. "What did he want?" "He asked to talk to you. We told him you weren't home. He left, but not before saying something." "What?" She hesitated. "He said he's not finished." A chill ran down my spine. I clenched my jaw. "I'm calling the officer handling my case." My mother nodded quickly. But before I dialed, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You moved on quickly." I froze. My fingers trembled. Then another message. "Saw you today. You looked happy." My breath caught in my throat. "Saw me today? Where?" My heart started pounding. I felt the room tilt slightly. Fear crawling up my neck. My mother touched my hand. "What is it?" I showed her the messages. Her eyes widened. "We need to tell your father." I nodded slowly, swallowing the panic rising in my chest. But before I could think further, my phone buzzed again. This time, a picture message loaded. A picture of me, standing with Alex, taken from a distance, taken without my knowledge, taken today. The world blurred for a moment. My breath hitched. My mother grabbed my arm to steady me. "This is bad," she whispered. "This is very bad." Daniel was watching me. He had followed me. He had taken pictures. He knew where I was, who I was with, how I was moving on. fear turned to anger. Hot, sharp anger that flushed through my veins. "No," I said through my teeth. "He doesn't get to do this. Not again." But my hands still trembled as I blocked the number, saved the screenshots, and forwarded everything to the officer. My father arrived moments later, and when he saw the picture, his face hardened with rage I had never seen him express before. "Enough," he said. "Enough of his games. He thinks he can intimidate you? He thinks he can ruin your life after everything he's done? Not anymore." He stepped outside to make a call, pacing aggressively. My mother wrapped her arms around me. "You're safe," she whispered. "We won't let anything happen to you." Safe. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to cling to that word. But as the night crept in and the shadows stretched across my room, every sound made me jump. Every car passing outside felt like a threat. Every vibration from my phone felt like another picture being taken from the darkness. I barely slept. The next morning, I arrived at work exhausted, drained. My eyes burned, my shoulders slumped, and my mind raced with 1,000 uneasy thoughts. When I stepped into the elevator, I didn't notice Alex standing there until he spoke. "You okay?" he asked gently. My breath shook. "Not really." He studied my face. "What happened?" I hesitated, then the words spilled out. "Not everything, but enough. Enough for him to know that Daniel had crossed a line." Alex's expression shifted. Not anger, but something deeper. Protectiveness. Concern. A quiet intensity that made me feel seen, understood, and shielded all at once. "You shouldn't walk to your car alone," he said softly, "until this settles." "I don't want to bother you," he interrupted. "I'm offering." "Why?" "Because I care." 3 simple words. No pressure, no hidden meaning, no expectation, just honesty. The day moved slowly, my anxiety lingering in the background like a shadow, but every time I saw Alex across the room, it steadied me, and I hated that Daniel's presence still haunted me. I hated that a man who hurt me still had the power to shake my world. Near the end of the workday, the officer called to tell me that Daniel's number was traced, and they were preparing a restraining order. Relief came first, then a fear of what Daniel might do next.
As I walked out of the office toward the parking area, Alex was already waiting, leaning against a pillar, hands in his pockets, watching the exit. "You didn't have to come," I said softly. "I know," he replied, "but I wanted to." The wind was cold, biting at our skin as we walked. The lights flickered slightly overhead. I hugged my arms around myself. "You're shivering," he said. "It's just cold," I lied. He saw through it. Halfway to the car, he stopped walking. "Emily." I looked up. "You don't have to pretend you're fine with me. I'm not going anywhere." The words hit me harder than I expected. Something inside me cracked, not in pain, but in release. "I'm scared," I whispered. "I hate that I am, but I am." "You have every right to be," he said softly. And then, without asking for permission, without overstepping, he simply extended his hand, not to hold mine, but palm upward, offering, not insisting. I stared at his hand. A simple, open gesture. A choice. Slowly, I placed my hand in his. His palms were warm. And for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. Real safety. Not forced, not controlled, not conditional. Just safe. We continued walking side by side. When we reached my car, I hesitated. "Alex, yes? You don't have to get involved in this mess." He shook his head.
You're not a mess. Someone else created chaos in your life. That's not the same thing. I swallowed. I'm still figuring out how to trust again. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let yourself exist without fear. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I blinked them back. He stepped back then, respecting my space. Message me when you get home, he said softly, just so I know you're safe. I nodded. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at my phone. I had two choices. Let fear consume me again, or let hope in, even just a little. I typed slowly. Got home. Thank you. His reply came within seconds. Good. Sleep without fear tonight. You deserve peace. I placed the phone on my chest, took a deep breath, and closed my eyes. For the first time in months, I slept deeply. The next few weeks brought shifts I didn't expect. Daniel stopped messaging, likely because of the restraining order. The police kept me updated. My parents became calmer, though still protective. Sana teased me constantly about Alex, insisting he was interested. But it wasn't about interest. Not yet. It was about presence, safety, a rhythm forming between us, slow and natural. Some days we ate lunch together. Some days we talked after work. Some days we simply existed in the same space quietly. He never pushed. He never asked for more. He never made me feel like I owed him anything. One rainy evening, as we stood under the awning, waiting for the downpour to ease, he said something that lodged itself in my heart. You know, healing doesn't look the same for everyone. Some people scream, some people isolate, some people pretend everything is fine. And me? I asked quietly. You're learning to breathe again, he said. And I'm proud of you. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My throat tightened, my chest heavy with unspoken things. Instead, I said, Why are you so patient with me? He smiled faintly. Because someone once told me I wasn't worthy of love. Took me years to realize they were wrong. I guess I don't want anyone else to believe that lie. We stood there, the rain pouring, cars splashing by, people running for shelter, while the world felt like it slowed around us. I didn't fall in love with him that night. I didn't want to. But I did feel the beginning of something. A warmth, a safety, a possibility. 2 months passed. Daniel disappeared completely. No messages, no appearances, no threats. Maybe the restraining order scared him. Maybe he found someone new to manipulate. Maybe he realized he couldn't control me anymore. Whatever it was, the silence was a blessing. On a warm Saturday morning, I found myself standing in front of my wardrobe, staring at an outfit I hadn't worn since before the wedding fiasco, a soft lavender dress I always loved. I hesitated, then slipped it on. My mother gasped. You look beautiful! I'm meeting a friend, I said. She smiled knowingly. A friend? I rolled my eyes. Just a friend. Alex had texted me earlier. Coffee at the lake? Sunshine looks too good to waste. We met near the water, where the breeze carried the scent of flowers and the laughter of children playing nearby. He had 2 coffees in hand. For you, he said. I smiled. Trying to bribe me into spending more time with you? Maybe, he said with a smirk. Is it working? It might be. We walked along the water, talking about simple things, childhood memories, embarrassing moments.
dreams we once had but never chased. It felt light, free, beautiful. At one point, he stopped walking and looked at me. "Emily," he said softly, "I need to ask you something." My heart skipped. "What is it? Do you want me in your life, even if it's just as someone who stands beside you while you heal?" I inhaled slowly. Yes, no, maybe. Everything tangled together. I don't want to hurt you. You won't. I don't know what I'm ready for. That's okay. I'm scared of repeating the past. I won't be your past. My throat tightened. I don't want to rush anything. You don't have to. I looked up at him. Really looked at him. Strong. Gentle. Steady. Safe. And for the first time, the fear inside me loosened its grip. "I want you in my life," I said quietly. "I don't know in what way yet, but I want you there." His eyes softened. "That's enough," he whispered. We stood there, the breeze brushing past us, the sunlight warming our skin, the world humming quietly around us. He didn't try to hold my hand. He didn't try to kiss me. He didn't move closer. He just smiled, a small, grateful smile. "Then I am here," he said, "for as long as you want." And for the first time since the wedding, since the slap, since the humiliation, since the fear, I felt hope blooming inside me like a sunrise. Slow, soft, powerful. Life hadn't ended that day. It had started all over again. And this time, I was choosing the people who walked beside me. The next morning, sunlight streamed into my room far too brightly for the weight I carried in my chest. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept replaying the moment at the cafe, the moment Ayan had confessed his feelings, and the moment I walked away from him, even though a part of me didn't want to. I wasn't confused about him. I was confused about myself. I had spent so long surviving, healing, rebuilding, that the idea of letting someone in felt like learning how to breathe again after being underwater for too long. And yet, the memory of his warm, honest eyes kept tugging at me. I sat up and stretched, staring at my phone on the bedside table. Dozens of notifications blinked. I ignored all of them, except one message from Ayan that had come late at night.
No pressure. Just wanted to say I meant every word I said, and whether you choose me or not, I'll always wish good for you. No drama. No begging. No manipulation. Just steady, honest sincerity. It made my heart ache. I put the phone down and went to shower, hoping the warm water would calm my racing thoughts. It didn't. The entire day passed by in a haze. I worked, edited scripts, responded to emails, but my mind kept drifting. By evening, the restlessness in me had grown into something I couldn't ignore. Instead of going home, I took a detour and ended up in the city's old district. Narrow streets lit by golden lamps, the smell of roasted chestnuts in the air, the kind of place that felt frozen in time. I didn't know why I came here. Maybe to think? Or maybe to finally stop thinking. I sat on a bench near the fountain, the sound of water calming my heartbeat. As the sky turned deep purple, I realized I wasn't alone. Someone sat down at the other end of the bench, a quiet presence, familiar, warm, careful. Ayan.
He didn't look at me, didn't say anything. He just sat there, leaving a respectful distance between us. "How did you find me?" I asked. He exhaled softly. "I didn't. I come here when my mind is loud." I looked at him surprised. "You come here often?" "Only when something matters." He turned to me then, eyes gentle. "You came here too? That tells me something." I swallowed hard. "It doesn't tell you anything." "It tells me you're scared." That stung. Not because it was cruel, but because it was true. "And it tells me," he continued softly, "that you didn't want to be alone tonight." I opened my mouth, then closed it again. A cold breeze brushed past us. Ian took off his jacket and placed it around my shoulders without hesitation, without making it a big gesture. Just pure care. I should have taken it off. I should have resisted. I should have reminded myself to be cautious. But I didn't. For a long moment, silence wrapped around us. Not awkward, but comforting. "I'm not ready," I whispered. "I know. I don't want to rush anything." "You won't." "I don't want to fall for someone who might hurt me." "I won't." His voice shook a little on that last line, as if he was terrified of failing me in any way. I turned fully toward him. "How can you promise something like that?" "Because I know what broken feels like, and I'd rather die than be the reason you feel that again." My breath hitched. He wasn't saying it to impress me. He wasn't performing. He was simply speaking his truth. Then he added quietly, "I don't need your answer today, or tomorrow, or next month. I'll wait as long as you need." His patience scared me more than anything. "What if I never choose you?" I asked. He smiled, a small, sad, hopeful smile. "Then he'll still be grateful I met you." My chest tightened painfully. No one had ever loved me like this, not with desperation or obsession, but with gentleness, with respect, with patience. But the fear in me still loomed large. "There are days I still feel broken." "That's okay." "Days I still feel angry." "Also okay." "Some days I don't even recognize myself." Ian nodded. "I'll learn all the versions of you. I don't expect perfection." A tear slipped down my cheek before I could stop it. "Why me?" "Because," he whispered, "you walk through fire and still smile at strangers. Because you survive things that would have destroyed others. Because you look at the world like you're still searching for reasons to trust it again. And I want to be one of those reasons." I covered my mouth with my hand, overwhelmed. Don't say things like that," I whispered. "Why not?" "Because I'll start believing you." He reached out slowly, giving me enough time to pull back if I wanted, but I didn't. His fingers gently brushed away the tear on my cheek. "Then believe me," he murmured. My heart trembled. "Ian, I don't want to hurt you." He smiled softly. "You can't hurt me. Not when everything I feel for you is a choice, not a demand." Another tear escaped me. This one I didn't try to hide. Ian shifted slightly closer, Not too close, but close enough that the warmth between us felt like safety. "You're allowed to take this slow," he said. "You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to walk away if that's what gives you peace." His voice broke on the next line. "But I hope you don't." A long breath escaped me. My fingers subconsciously clutched the edge of his jacket around my shoulders. "Ian?" "Yes?" "I'm afraid." "I know." "But I don't want to walk away." He froze, absolutely still, as if the moment would shatter if he moved. "I don't know what this is yet," I continued, my voice trembling, "but I want to see where it goes." A slow smile spread across his face. Relief, disbelief, happiness, all tangled together. He looked like a man who had been underwater and finally found air. "You have no idea how happy that makes me." I exhaled shakily. "I'm not promising anything." "You don't have to." "And I'm not ready for big steps." "We'll take small ones." "And if I panic?" "I'll be right here." I laughed weakly, wiping my face. "You make it sound so easy." "It won't be," he said honestly. A moment passed, and his hand hovered near mine, not touching, just close enough that I could decide. I looked at his hand, then at his face, then at the fountain glowing under the streetlights, and taking a breath that felt like a leap, I slowly slid my fingers toward his. Our hands touched only slightly, barely, soft and trembling, but it was enough. Aeon did not grip my hand or pull me closer. He simply let our fingers rest together, gentle, respectful, letting me lead, and it felt like the most tender moment of my life. After a long while, I whispered, "Aeon," and he answered, "Yeah." And I told him, "Do not let go yet." And his eyes softened as he said, "I was not planning to." For the first time in a long, long time, I did not feel broken or scared. I felt something like hope. Fragile, small, and real. The night grew quieter, the city lights dimmed, and the world around us disappeared until nothing existed except a bench, a fountain, and two people who had found each other at the exact moment they needed someone, even if both were terrified of it. Aeon finally spoke again, his voice hushed as he said, "Emily." And when I answered, "Yes," he said that someday, far in the future, if I ever trusted him enough to love him, he would spend every day proving I made the right choice. I leaned my head gently on his shoulder and whispered, "Do not think about someday. Just stay with me right now." And he murmured, "I am here. I will always be here." We stayed like that, quiet, steady, healing, until the streetlights dimmed and the sky turned pale with dawn. It was not a fairy tale and not perfect, but it was a beginning. And for the first time since the wedding disaster, since the slap that ended my marriage, since the pain and humiliation, I felt like I was not ending anymore. I was starting. And this time, I was not starting alone. The next few days felt strangely peaceful, as if life had slowed down enough for me to breathe again. And every morning I woke up thinking about that moment at the fountain, the warmth of Ion's shoulder, and the way he held on without ever gripping too tightly. I was not used to gentleness, but I found myself wanting more of it. We did not rush into anything. We did not suddenly become a couple. We simply found a rhythm. Soft, unhurried, and healing. He texted me good morning, and I replied with shy smiles. He sent pictures of his messy breakfast, and I teased him. He asked about my day, and I told him the truth instead of saying fine. He did not push, he did not demand. He just stayed like a quiet presence in a noisy world. And slowly, I began looking forward to him. One evening, I stepped out of my office and saw him leaning against his car with a warm, gentle smile. He admitted he was not really in the area, but had come because he wanted to see me, and I had wanted to see him too. As we drove, he slowed near a small park glowing with tiny lights and asked if I wanted to walk, only if I wanted, and I nodded. We walked side by side, our hands brushing now and then, sending sparks through me, though neither of us reached out fully, not yet. After a while, I asked why he had been single all this time, and he said he had never felt connected with anyone. And when I asked, and with me? He said that from the moment I walked into that cafe, I felt familiar, like someone his heart remembered, even without knowing me. I said that made no sense, and he replied that some things did not have to. He stepped closer, gently, and asked if he could tell me something, and when I said always, he told me I glowed differently when happy, and that my voice softened when scared, and that I clenched my fingers when trying not to cry, and that I talked too much when confused. I denied it, and he laughed, and I playfully pushed him and laughed in a way that felt like a lost part of me had come back. As we walked, I watched the lamplight on his face and suddenly realized I wanted to kiss him, not from loneliness or comfort, but because I genuinely wanted to, and the thought scared me. I looked away and he noticed, asking what was wrong, and I said nothing, and he gently told me not to run away. I looked at him and said I did not know what was happening to me, and he said he hoped it was something good, and I said I thought I liked him more than I should, and he looked stunned and said that was not a bad thing, and I said it scared me, and he said it scared him too because he did not want to lose this. My fingers brushed his, and he froze, then turned his palm upward, inviting, and I slid my hand into his, and this time he held it, not tight, not possessive, just secure and warm. He stepped closer, and my heart felt like it might burst. He told me to tell him to stop if it was too fast, and I said it was not. He told me to tell him to stay away if it scared me, and I said it did, but told him not to go anywhere. And he exhaled with relief. He leaned his forehead against mine and asked if it was okay, and I whispered yes. He did not kiss me or push for more. He simply let the moment exist, soft, honest, tender. And for the first time in my life, it did not feel like the beginning of pain. It felt like the beginning of healing. After a while, he said he did not want to rush this, and I said I did not either. And he said that someday, when I was ready, he wanted to kiss me and wanted me to feel safe when he did. Tears stung my eyes with warm, frightening hope, and I whispered that I was glad he had not given up on me, and he said he never would. We stood there until our hearts matched the same steady rhythm, and under the soft yellow lights, surrounded by unspoken promises, something inside me began to mend. I did not say it out loud, not yet, but deep down, beneath fear and scars, I knew this was not just the beginning of something new, this was the beginning of something real.